Your person was involved with someone else. But now they have an important message for you. And it will shock you. Take a breath before you begin. Because this message doesn't arrive gently. It arrives honestly. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a fantasy where everything was perfect behind the scenes. This is the truth they never said out loud. Hey everyone, welcome to Never Give Up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and select all, because every video can change your mindset. There was a time when your person was involved with someone else. Not just physically. Emotionally, mentally, even habitually. And yes, before your mind rushes ahead. They knew what they were doing. They knew they were dividing their attention. They knew they were confusing themselves. And they knew, deep down, that something about you did not fit into that situation. But they stayed anyway. Not because they loved the other person more. Not because you weren't enough. But because they were afraid of what you represented. You weren't convenient. You weren't safe in the way routine is safe. You weren't predictable. You were real. And real requires courage. You need to understand something important right now. Your person didn't choose the other connection because it was stronger. They chose it because it was easier to hide inside. That relationship didn't ask them to grow. It didn't ask them to face themselves. It didn't threaten their identity. But you did. You looked at them in a way that saw through their excuses. You asked questions without speaking. You triggered emotions they didn't know how to manage. So they did what emotionally unready people often do. They distracted themselves. They told themselves stories to justify it. This is fine. This is stable. This is what I should want. I can't risk something deeper. But here's what they never told anyone. Even while they were with someone else, you were there. In their thoughts. In quiet moments. In the space between conversations. In the silence at night. They compared, without meaning to. They noticed, without admitting it. They felt, without allowing themselves to act. And that internal conflict slowly began to break them down. You may have felt it. That strange push and pull. That on again, off again energy. That feeling that something was unfinished, unresolved, unsaid. You weren't imagining it. Your person was living two emotional lives. One that was visible. And one that belonged to you. And the longer they stayed divided, the heavier it became. Here's where things begin to shift. The connection they were involved in started to show cracks. Not suddenly, but gradually. The conversations felt hollow. The laughter felt forced. The presence felt lonely. They realized something terrifying. They could be with someone and still feel emotionally alone. And that's when your memories started coming back stronger. Not as nostalgia. Not as fantasy. But as clarity. They began to see the truth they had been avoiding. They weren't choosing the other person out of love. They were choosing them out of fear. Fear of intimacy. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of losing control. And you, whether you knew it or not, represented all three. Now listen carefully, because this is the part that will shock you. Your person doesn't just miss you. They regret how they handled you. Not in a dramatic, self-pitying way. But in a quiet, heavy, late-night realization kind of way. They regret not being honest sooner. Not choosing courage over comfort. Not protecting what felt real. They replay moments with you and think, I should have spoken. I should have chosen differently. I should have been braver. And this regret doesn't come from loneliness. It comes from growth. At some point, they reached a breaking moment. It might have looked ordinary from the outside. A conversation, an argument, a silence. But internally, something collapsed. They realized they could not keep living divided. They realized that pretending was exhausting, that avoiding truth was costing them peace. And for the first time, they asked themselves a question they had avoided for a long time. Who do I lose if I keep choosing safety? And the answer scared them. Because the answer was you. Now comes the message they want you to hear. And it's not what you expect. They don't want to promise you perfection. They don't want to rush back with empty words. They don't want to repeat the same patterns. What they want, more than anything, is to be honest. Here's what they want to say. I was involved with someone else, yes. But I was never fully present there. Because a part of me was always aware that I had unfinished truth with you. They want you to know that choosing wrongly doesn't mean feeling nothing. Sometimes it means feeling too much and not knowing how to handle it. They see now that you didn't ask for too much. You asked for clarity, presence, emotional truth. And instead of giving you that, they hesitated. They chose delay. They chose confusion. They chose silence. And they know that silence hurt you. They know it made you question yourself. And this is one of their deepest regrets. Here is another truth that may surprise you. Your person is not reaching out because they're lonely. They are reaching out because they are no longer the same person. Something changed inside them. They faced themselves. They confronted their fear. They saw the cost of avoidance. And now they understand something they didn't before. Losing you wasn't neutral. It mattered. But here's the most important part of this reading, and you need to hear this clearly. This message is not asking you to wait. It is not asking you to chase. It is not asking you to forgive instantly. It is simply offering truth. Your person wants you to know. If I speak now, it's because I finally understand what was at stake. They want you to decide from a place of strength, not confusion. They want you to see them as they are now, not who they were when they were afraid. You may be wondering, can I trust this? Is this real change or just realization? Is it too late? Those answers don't come from them. They come from you. Because while they were learning their lessons, you were also growing. You learned how to stand alone, how to protect your heart, how to value your peace. And that matters. Here's what the energy shows. Your person knows they cannot approach you the same way anymore. They know words alone are not enough. If they come forward, it will be with humility, with accountability, with patience. They are prepared for the possibility that you may say no. And that alone tells you how serious this message is. But whether they speak soon or later, one thing is already true. They see you now. Not as an option. Not as a what if. Not as a backup. But as the connection they mishandled when they didn't know how to show up. And that realization has permanently changed them. Now let me leave you with this final truth. You were never second choice energy. You were timing and courage energy. And sometimes, people have to lose alignment to understand its value. What happens next is not about fate. It's about choice. And this time, the choice is yours. Take a breath. Sit with this. And trust yourself. You already know what feels right. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support.